What's the hubbub? Supergirl is likely going to be a fresh-rated Rotten Tomatoes movie. I've said it, and if I'm wrong, you can come back to this video and let me hear it. It's my prediction, though. New screening reports are coming out via John Campea, and the positivity has grown exponentially.
So, altogether, I got the reactions from 3 people who've seen these screenings in the last 48 hours. 2 of them thought it was fantastic. One of them, you have to take with a grain of salt. You know, a little bit of an asterisk there because they are somebody in the studio system, but still they loved it. One person from a major outlet really enjoyed it, saying it was far better than it had any business being. And then a third person saying, it's pretty good. It's okay. It's okay. They certainly did dislike it. They enjoyed it, but it has some. So out of the 3, Rob, overall, it seems to be skewing pretty positive.
Out of 3 sourced screening reports, according to John Campea, we have 2 stellar ones, and one that is considering as just pretty good. When you consider word of mouth may lean that it is better than it should be, I'll take that positivity. If we have a range of pretty good to pretty great, then it's a solid chance it helps the DCU Foundation to continuing rehabilitating the DC brand after it ended badly under the Zack Snyder-established DCEU. Watch today's full video, by the way, as we are covering a lot. We will later examine if Masters of the Universe is a flop already, and the implications on Supergirl's box office performance. Up front, I'll say they should have marketed a release into Father's Day, building into the childhood nostalgia of millennial fathers. It could have front-loaded ticket sales better this way. The belief in Supergirl is that we have a good quality movie to build further off of.
Building the DC universe, not the DC planet.
We love the idea that in 2025, it was the summer of Superman, and the movie delivered commercially, critically, audience, fans, everybody embraced it. And the fact that a year later, they get Supergirl, and then the year after that in 2027 to have Man of Tomorrow, it's just great that we've kind of built this cadence of films around the super family that we're incredibly excited about, that all feel very different. But are special and unique in their own ways.
Yeah, they really are all different. I mean, even Superman and Man of Tomorrow. So we get to see different facets of storytelling with each of these things, different facets of the DC universe, the DCU. And it's been an honor for us to be a part of it and to help to keep these characters that we've loved since our own childhoods alive in the different media they're able to be in today.
James Gunn and Peter Safran feel that the Superman saga will pay off as it builds toward Man of Tomorrow. I also believe it matters that we have a great ambassador and star in David Corenswet, who is now, in my opinion, the best overall movie Superman since Christopher Reeve. This is no shade toward Henry Cavill, but after Man of Steel, he was often written more like a Batman-type character with Superman's powers. He wasn't really the blindly idealistic Boy Scout that many fans want to see. Courtesy of Starlight, a fellow DCU supporter, I think she summarizes what makes his casting so perfect and why he creates such a strong foundation for the DCU.
David Corenswet as Superman is arguably the best superhero casting of all time. You could give him the dumbest line ever and he'd nail it due to his charm and embodiment of Superman. He really does radiate that inherent goodness that he believes in everyone to achieve. I really don't think the DCU would have started off as strong as it did if it wasn't for David being cast as Superman. I mean, he even fought for Trunks on the Superman suit because it was important to him that kids would see Superman and not be afraid of him, and the Trunks made him less intimidating. There's a lot of really amazing castings in DC right now, like Robert Pattinson as Batman in Epic Crime Saga, Jason Momoa Lobo, Aaron Pierre as Jon Stewart, and even Millie Alcock as Supergirl. But when I think of the definitive superhero casting, I think this one takes the cake for me.
I once saw a quote from Natalie Portman that essentially said David was fearless when trying things as an actor without worrying about how he looked. They were filming a movie where he had a standout scene going toe-to-toe with a veteran actress like her.
Took my daughter away from me.
Alan?
Don't speak, don't say my name! Do not ever say my name again! Don't say the name of any remaining member of my family! You should have some common decency. And you should leave.
I'm sorry.
You should leave!
I'm sorry. I'm not going anywhere. And I hope that you see that I am treating her as if it was my child.
God.
And I will not rest until I find out the truth.
But we already know the truth, Maddie. Everybody here knows the truth. You're trying to recover your lost dreams, and you want to use the body of my dead child to do it. How dare you?
Neva Howell, who plays Martha Kent, the mother of Clark Kent, talked about David Corenswet's evolution from Superman in 2025 to Man of Tomorrow, which arrives next year in 2027. At the start of the quote, she says, "It's incredible to see them together and to see how it's changed David. I love how he is developing the character before our eyes, showing how he has been affected by events since the first film." End quote. So folks, we are going to witness his transformation throughout these films. This time around, David decided that instead of focusing primarily on bulking up to look farm boy strong, he wanted to be more toned and defined physically. He's growing the character across an arc to eventually reach Superman in his prime. On the Lex side, we can confirm that James Gunn's primary inspiration was Superman, Batman, Public Enemies.
If you want someone killed right, you have to kill him yourself.
Particularly the design of the Lex warsuit. We're seeing multiple DC inspirations take shape throughout the DCU. Please subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss when new videos go up. Here on the Hubbub, I cover the DCU versus DCEU debate, and part of that involves addressing the cycle of misinformation that comes from some Snyder Bro channels. Their goal is often to gain subscribers through outrage, monetize views, and keep the Restore the SnyderVerse campaign alive. Ironically, I qualified for monetization months ago and still haven't turned it on. The claim from YouTuber Harsh Critics is that I'm being paid to run interference for DCU marketing. Listen, Hubbub homies, I have a small channel that isn't even monetized yet. You really can't call what I'm doing a grift with a straight face. Yes, I bring up Snyder because bad arguments deserve fact-checking, and debate between fandoms can be fun and interesting. This is a niche category, and I know that. I'm not defensive about it. I just want people to understand the motivation. Many of the Restore SnyderVerse channels are either being dishonest about their intent or coping harder than a Superman villain trapped in the Phantom Zone. Take Mr. Phenom, for example. Funny enough, he reminds me of a couple of real-life friends. On non-DC topics, we'd probably get along. However, he has more than doubled his subscriber count over the last 6 months to a year, while denying that his content is heavily centered around insulting Gunn's DCU and praising the SnyderVerse. So let's talk about some positive DCU news and let the haters continue holding candlelight vigils for a cinematic universe that has been declared legally deceased for years. It appears each movie will connect while still maintaining its own tone. That's important because one of the major issues with the SnyderVerse was that when Zack Snyder was most involved, many projects felt tonally similar. A dark, mythic style works great for Batman, but forcing every character into that mold doesn't always work. That's why what Gunn is establishing matters. The less Snyder was directly involved beyond helping cast certain roles, the more variety we saw. Aquaman, directed by James Gunn, crossed $1 billion worldwide. Wonder Woman, directed by Patty Jenkins, was also a major success. Both films largely existed outside the core Snyder style. They embraced brighter visuals, more humor, and broader audience appeal.
Hi there.
Ikalata.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't I don't speak Kryptonian. I didn't never shoot. I wasn't raised there, so I wasn't raised there. Why am I talking louder? Let me help you.
Escrito Sfura, Nini. Sfura.
It's a feisty little guy. It's cute. Is it okay if I... Watch your step there. Might be slippery, so... Ah, yeah. Pretty cool, huh? Don't worry, we don't actually live here. There's a lot more to Earth than just this place. Big city, lots of stuff to do, and you'll also learn to love this place, just like I have. Promise.
اسمك كريم يا
Oh, should mention, your powers are going to start kicking in right about now.
Some reports suggest that Man of Tomorrow is being positioned closer to the center than Superman in order to appeal to a wider audience. Apparently, the writing process was smoother, and there's a growing belief that Man of Tomorrow could elevate the DCU to another level. I'll make a realistic but optimistic prediction. If that proves true, I could see the film landing somewhere in the high 600 million range and possibly even reaching 700 million worldwide. Remember, this franchise is still rebuilding from the damage left behind by the failed DCEU Zack Snyder established era. It has always been my belief that regardless of what happens with Warner Bros. Ownership in the future, Man of Tomorrow is the movie that truly needs to prove itself. Supergirl carries much less pressure. It has a lower budget, lower expectations, and mainly needs to serve as a bridge that generates goodwill and momentum heading into Man of Tomorrow. This isn't goalpost moving. Check my older videos, I've been consistent on this point. Going by the pre-pandemic method of determining success, you'll see sites like Cosmic Book News say that Masters of the Universe is a flop, for example.
Actually opened lower at 29.3 million on a budget of 170 million with a break even of 425 million. Means Masters of the Universe is an official bomb at the box office. But that's not all. The international numbers are also in, and they're even worse. Opening in 86 territories, Masters of the Universe only brought in 25 million from the foreign audience for a total combined worldwide opening of only $54 million. Exactly as I told you, Matt McGloin, 100% right again. Masters of the Universe is a complete disaster.
However, studios no longer use that metric solely internally to make a determination. Otherwise, movies would just not be made at all anymore if the risk was based only on seats being filled. Streaming is a major revenue source now, and movies like these are all about merchandise. Before even hitting theaters, the licensing deals, such as with fast food and various restaurants, candy, toys, and even some newer social media-based revenue on these hero character-based films, are pulling 50 to 100 million. When you consider we have reached a point in history where these movies simultaneously play digitally at home while it's still in the theater, you have to really figure out the different revenue streams to see if the overall scope is actually a flop. There's a rush to treat movies of today as if general movie-going audiences didn't drop in attendance around 40+% current day compared to pre-pandemic boom era. This brings us around to the James Gunn DCU versus Snyder DCEU debate. So yes, Superman was a success in the current day market. It was the #1 superhero movie of 2025, beating all 3 Marvel movies. As for Supergirl, it was greenlit with the idea of doing about half of what Superman does. It was never internally more than a bridge for the Superman saga to build the verse further out on. I know it shits on the SnyderVerse narrative, but you can't logically believe they'd put that much risk, especially into a female-led movie, unless the return expectations were relatively low. Just some common sense. I wouldn't be surprised if a Brainiac-led Man of Tomorrow hitting 700 million was enough to secure another decade of DCU storytelling under James Gunn, assuming he even wants that long of a tenure. It's also possible that Gunn is building the universe with the intention of eventually handing it off to someone else. I could absolutely see the long-term goal being a billion-dollar Justice League film once the DCU is fully established. Apparently, some Snyder loyalists have decided that anyone who doesn't support restoring the old universe is now a gunner. Honestly, that feels like projection from a segment of fandom that follows one creator more than the characters themselves. Many DC fans gave Snyder a fair shot. Some even enjoyed parts of his work. They simply recognize that the next person up is James Gunn. The characters are bigger than any one filmmaker. I'll support whoever is running DC movies if the stories are good. Hoping for success isn't glazing, it's being a fan. Many of us are also realistic about the current state of the superhero genre. Channels like mine have consistently said since the announcement of Supergirl that we expect a moderate success somewhere above 300 million and potentially into the 400 million range worldwide. John Campea and Boba Talks have expressed similar expectations, Yet somehow, certain Snyder fans have convinced themselves that DCU supporters expected Supergirl to perform like Spider-Man No Way Home. That's pure fantasy. The idea comes from a meme that was actually poking fun at the fact that Supergirl isn't an A-list box office character. Now, some people are trying to use that joke as evidence that DCU fans had unrealistic expectations. It's simply another example of people desperately searching for a scoreboard after the game ended years ago. The same thing happened with Superman. Most DCU fans were saying that, given the state of the genre and the need for brand rehabilitation, a 500 to 600 million performance would be respectable. The Snyder crowd, meanwhile, was insisting it needed to make $1 billion immediately. Even during the peak superhero boom, Man of Steel only landed in the 600 million range worldwide. One of the reasons a direct Brainiac sequel never happened was because the studio wanted more. Instead, they rushed toward Batman v Superman in an attempt to catch Marvel. The SnyderVerse was fundamentally an effort to speedrun an MCU-style universe. It didn't work. Now we're rebuilding in a much tougher environment after years of audience trust being damaged and superhero fatigue becoming a real factor. The path forward won't be easy, but if Gunn continues building carefully and movies like Man of Tomorrow break out, we could see the beginning of another boom period for superhero films. That's why, here in the Hubbub community, we support major franchise successes like Spider-Man and the Avengers. We don't view them as competition. We view them as healthy for the genre. If Spider-Man and Avengers movies stop hitting huge numbers, that would signal a much larger problem for superhero films overall, and that would hurt DC too. Personally, I think Marvel's major tentpole films will help bring the brand back. What remains unclear is whether Marvel can return to the days when any obscure property could become a smash hit. Let's also give James Gunn some credit. The Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy wasn't just successful, it proved that Marvel could turn obscure characters into household names. Today, the Guardians seem famous, but before the first movie, they were incredibly niche. That success didn't happen by accident, so credit where it's due. Hopefully Gunn can continue growing the DCU, and hopefully the superhero genre itself continues recovering. Nobody wants to see it go the way of Westerns, once the dominant force in Hollywood, now a niche genre. And with that, it's today's Hubbub. No SnyderVerse? No problem. Though somewhere out there, a Snyder fan is still refreshing HBO Max and waiting for a Justice League 2 announcement that isn't coming. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Hubbub.
Ding, 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 ding.